There comes a point in a woman's life when her mind stops whispering and starts trembling under the weight of emotions she never learned how to release. It begins quietly, like a soft hum she can ignore. But over time, that hum turns into a roar she can no longer silence. People call it mood swings, emotional drama, or overreaction. But what they're really seeing is emotional overload, the invisible storm that builds when she feels everything and expresses nothing. Emotional overload isn't sudden, it's accumulated. It's the result of hundreds of moments where she swallowed her truth to keep peace, where she smiled when she wanted to cry, where she carried other people's weight because she was afraid to drop her own. It begins when she tells herself, I'll deal with it later, and later never arrives. Each ignored emotion adds another layer of pressure, another knot in her chest, another reason her thoughts won't quiet at night. She wakes up already tired because her mind never truly rests. Even in sleep, she's processing, remembering, anticipating. Her dreams are filled with unfinished conversations, faces that hurt her, moments she wished had gone differently. She's living in two worlds at once, the one she shows to others and the one she keeps buried within. The more she hides, the heavier it becomes. Emotional overload doesn't come from weakness. It comes from the strength of carrying too much for too long. A woman's sensitivity is both her gift and her burden. She feels deeply, loves deeply, empathizes easily. But when she's surrounded by emotional neglect or inconsistency, that same sensitivity becomes her cage. She feels responsible for the moods around her. She monitors every tone, every pause, every shift in energy. Her nervous system learns to stay alert because experience has taught her that peace can turn to chaos without warning. Emotional overload begins when vigilance replaces calm. She starts to lose the difference between her emotions and everyone else's. She absorbs the sadness of others, the disappointment of loved ones, the frustration of those she cares about. She becomes the emotional sponge in every relationship. She listens, supports, fixes, but rarely receives the same in return. Slowly, her empathy becomes exhaustion. She still wants to help, but she no longer knows how to help herself. She's drained but can't explain why, because to others, she looks fine. And that's the thing about emotional overload. It's invisible. It hides behind productivity, behind a smile, behind the sentence, I'm fine, don't worry. She keeps performing normalcy even when she's collapsing inside. She shows up at work, laughs at jokes, posts happy pictures, but every act of pretending drains a little more energy. She doesn't realize how burnt out she is until small things begin to break her. An unanswered text, a harsh word, a cancelled plan. The reaction seems disproportionate, but it isn't. It's everything else that came before it. Inside her, emotions compete for space. Anger wants to scream, sadness wants to cry, disappointment wants to retreat, love still wants to hope. None of them win. They just pile on top of each other until she feels everything and nothing at once. Emotional overload feels like drowning in invisible water. Everyone sees her head above the surface, but no one sees the fight happening underneath. She becomes hypersensitive because she's already full. One comment can tip her over. One gesture can break the balance she's been struggling to maintain. People interpret her reactions as irrational, but they're not. They're proportional to the emotional weight she's been suppressing. Her nervous system is overstimulated. Every new emotion, no matter how small, feels amplified. When she cries over little things, she's not crying over that moment. She's crying over years of moments she never allowed herself to feel. Emotional overload also changes the way she thinks. Her mind becomes a constant loop of analysis and defense. She replays conversations, imagines outcomes, creates explanations for others' behavior. She's not trying to be obsessive, she's trying to protect herself. When she can't rely on stability from the outside, she tries to create it inside her head through control. Overthinking becomes her survival mechanism. It gives her the illusion of safety in situations where her emotions feel unpredictable. But control comes with a cost. The more she tries to manage her feelings, the more disconnected she becomes from them. She intellectualizes everything. She'll tell you why she shouldn't feel hurt instead of admitting that she does. She convinces herself she's fine because logic says she should be. Yet, emotions don't obey logic. They sit quietly until the mind gets tired, then they rise all at once, demanding attention. Emotional overload is the moment her emotions stop asking politely to be felt. Her body speaks what her mouth refuses to. She gets headaches that no medicine fixes, tension that massage can't release, fatigue that sleep doesn't cure. Her body becomes a messenger of the emotions she silenced. The heart races when she's anxious. The stomach tightens when she suppresses anger. The chest feels heavy when she's sad. She thinks it's stress, but it's accumulation, the body holding what the heart couldn't express. And still, she pushes through because society taught her that being emotional is a flaw, that composure equals strength, that sensitivity equals weakness. So she hides the parts of herself that feel too much. She calls herself dramatic before anyone else can. She apologizes for crying. She makes jokes about her emotions to mask their intensity. Every apology she gives for feeling adds another layer to her overload. Every time she silences herself, she teaches her mind that her emotions are not safe to express. This internalized silence becomes the loudest noise. It manifests as irritability, indecision, exhaustion. She can't tell what she wants anymore because her needs have been buried under everyone else's expectations. Emotional overload blurs boundaries. She says yes when she means no. She stays in conversations she doesn't have energy for. She carries guilt for prioritizing herself. Her emotional capacity becomes a currency she spends on others until she's emotionally bankrupt. When she finally reaches her limit, the breakdown doesn't look dramatic. It's quiet. It's her staring at the wall, unable to move. It's her withdrawing from people without explanation. It's her losing interest in things she once loved. It's not a single tear. It's the absence of tears because she's too tired to feel. People notice the distance and ask what's wrong, but she doesn't have the words. Emotional overload doesn't give you language, it gives you silence. Inside that silence, there's shame. Shame for not being strong enough. Shame for needing rest. Shame for feeling too much. She compares herself to others who seem fine and wonders why she can't be the same. She doesn't realize she's comparing her unfiltered emotions to their edited versions. Everyone struggles, but few admit it. So she keeps pretending, she keeps functioning, but functioning isn't healing, it's survival. Sometimes she tries to escape through distractions, scrolling endlessly, keeping herself busy, numbing through routine. It works for a while, but emotions find their way back. They always do. They rise in the stillness of night when there's no noise to drown them. That's when she feels the full weight of everything she's been carrying. That's when her mind goes crazy, not because she's unstable, but because her emotions finally have space to surface. She starts to realize that she has been living in emotional debt. Every unexpressed feeling is a loan her body eventually collects interest on. The interest shows up as anxiety, irritability, detachment. She doesn't need to toughen up, she needs to release. Emotional overload is the result of emotional suppression, not emotional excess. When emotions aren't processed, they accumulate until they spill into every aspect of life. Even relationships start to feel heavy. She becomes reactive to small things because her tolerance is gone. A simple misunderstanding can trigger deep pain because it resembles old wounds. Her mind associates present discomfort with past trauma, multiplying the emotion tenfold. That's why emotional overload feels disproportionate. It's not one emotion she's processing, it's many emotions overlapping. The world tells her to let it go, but it never taught her how. Letting go requires acknowledgement, and acknowledgement requires safety. She can't release what she isn't allowed to feel. Emotional overload thrives in environments where feelings are invalidated. When people tell her to calm down instead of asking what's wrong, they reinforce the very silence that caused her overload. The truth is, emotional overload is often the aftermath of compassion. She gives without boundaries. She loves without filters. She believes in people's potential even when their actions hurt her. She sees good where others see flaws. And because she feels everything so deeply, she ends up carrying emotions that don't even belong to her. Her kindness turns into fatigue. Her understanding becomes overextension. She doesn't realize she's absorbing pain that isn't hers to hold. At some point, she forgets what peace feels like. Her mind is constantly buzzing, replaying, worrying. Even when nothing is wrong, she feels uneasy because calm feels unfamiliar. Emotional overload conditions her to associate peace with danger. If things are quiet, she assumes something bad is about to happen. It's a psychological adaptation to instability. The nervous system stays alert because it has learned that rest equals vulnerability. She wants to slow down but doesn't know how. The moment she sits in silence, emotions rush in like waves. So she keeps moving, keeps working, keeps helping, keeps pretending. But the faster she moves, the louder the emotions chase her. Emotional overload isn't just about feeling too much, it's about not having space to process what she feels. Even love becomes complicated under overload. She craves closeness but fears it. She wants to be understood but doesn't know how to explain herself anymore. When someone tries to get close, she either clings too tightly or withdraws too quickly. Both are defense mechanisms of an overloaded heart trying to find balance. She's not playing games, she's protecting herself from another collapse. Her self talk becomes critical. She calls herself stupid for crying, weak for caring, dramatic for feeling. But these words aren't hers. They're echoes of the voices that dismissed her in the past. Emotional overload keeps replaying those voices until they become internal beliefs. She starts to think her emotions are flaws instead of signals. In reality, they're messages, each emotion trying to tell her something about what she needs. But she can't hear them through the noise. The mind and body are not separate in this state. Her physical energy mirrors her emotional energy. She feels heavy, sluggish, unfocused. Tasks that used to be easy now feel impossible. Her body is saying slow down while her environment keeps saying keep going. That conflict deepens the overload. She's caught between the need to heal and the pressure to perform. At times, she tries to rationalize her way out. She lists reasons why she shouldn't feel this way. She has a job, a roof, people who love her. Gratitude becomes a weapon against her emotions. She tells herself she has no right to be tired, no reason to be sad. But emotions aren't logical, they're experiential. Emotional overload doesn't care about circumstances, it cares about capacity. Even good things can feel overwhelming when the emotional container is already full. She begins to question everything: her relationships, her purpose, her identity. Overload creates fog. She can't distinguish intuition from anxiety anymore. Every decision feels risky. Every emotion feels suspect. She second guesses herself because she's been told for so long that she overreacts. She starts trusting others' perceptions more than her own, which deepens her confusion. Sometimes she wonders if she'll ever feel normal again. She misses the version of herself who could feel freely without analyzing it. She misses the simplicity of happiness before responsibility complicated it. She misses being spontaneous, expressive, alive. Emotional overload steals spontaneity because it replaces curiosity with caution. She doesn't step forward easily anymore. She calculates every move to avoid more pain. The irony is that her overload often appears right before transformation. It's the moment her system can no longer hold old patterns. The emotions that seem unbearable are signals calling her back to herself. But in the middle of it, she can't see that. She only feels the chaos. She feels like her mind is betraying her when, in truth, it's trying to free her from suppression. She withdraws from people who once knew her because she doesn't have energy to explain what's happening. She becomes quieter, more introspective. It's not depression, it's emotional recalibration. The old ways of coping no longer work, but the new ways haven't formed yet. She's in the in between where everything feels unstable. Emotional overload is that bridge between who she was and who she's becoming. No one sees the courage it takes to keep functioning in this state, to wake up, show up, care, and love while carrying invisible weight, to keep trying when every part of her wants to rest. Emotional overload is not just emotional, it's spiritual endurance. It's the heart saying, I still want to love even when it's tired. It's the mind saying, I still want to understand even when it's overwhelmed. It's the soul saying, I still believe in peace even when it feels impossible. Her mind goes crazy because it's full of unspoken truths, because she's been too strong for too long, because she's been trying to make everyone else happy while quietly falling apart, because she's been pretending that emotions don't matter in a world that punishes those who feel deeply. Emotional overload is her system begging for release, her spirit craving stillness, her heart asking to be heard without needing to be fixed. There's a reason why her emotions shift so suddenly, why one small change in tone can flip her mood from calm to anxious in seconds. It's not random, and it's not about overreacting. It's what happens when her attachment system gets triggered. Deep inside, beneath logic and reason, there's a part of her that's constantly scanning for signs of safety or rejection. Every word, every silence, every delay, her nervous system reads it as information. When she senses love, she softens. When she senses distance, she spirals. That's not madness, that's survival. Attachment isn't just a concept, it's the emotional blueprint that shapes the way she loves. It's formed through every experience that taught her what connection feels like, what safety means, what abandonment feels like, what love costs. It's the invisible script written long before she met anyone, long before she could even name her emotions. So when her mind goes crazy, it's not that she's unstable, it's that her attachment wounds have been touched, and her system is fighting to protect her from reliving old pain. The trigger often starts with something small. Maybe he doesn't reply as quickly as usual. Maybe his tone feels slightly different. Maybe his attention feels divided. To someone else, it's nothing. To her, it's everything. Her mind begins to whisper, what changed? Did I do something wrong? Is he pulling away? She knows she shouldn't overthink it, but logic doesn't calm the body. Her chest tightens, her thoughts race, and suddenly she's no longer responding to this moment. She's reacting to every moment she's ever felt ignored or abandoned. Her body remembers before her mind does. The silence feels familiar, not because of him, but because it echoes old wounds. The waiting reminds her of times she was emotionally starved, but too afraid to ask for more. The uncertainty mimics the feeling of wanting love that was never consistent. Her present pain is amplified by her past, layered like echoes that never fully faded. That's the secret of the attachment trigger. It's not about what's happening now, but what it reminds her of. When she was younger, she learned what love felt like from those who raised her, and not all of it was safe. Maybe love meant inconsistency, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. Maybe love meant walking on eggshells to avoid rejection. Maybe love meant giving too much to prove she was worthy. She internalized these experiences as truth. If I do everything right, I'll be loved. If I mess up, I'll be abandoned. Those beliefs never disappeared, they just went underground. Now, as an adult, they resurface every time connection feels uncertain. So when someone important to her withdraws even slightly, her attachment system activates like an alarm. Her mind starts scanning for danger. Her body floods with adrenaline. Her emotions become louder because, on a primal level, she believes distance means threat. That's why her reactions seem intense. She's not trying to create drama, she's trying to restore safety. The part of her that's triggered isn't irrational, it's scared. It's the younger version of her still trying to earn love by being enough. This is why reassurance means more to her than it does to most people. When someone says, I'm here, you're safe, I'm not leaving, it quiets her nervous system. It tells her body, you can relax now. But when she's met with coldness or dismissal instead, when she's told, you're too much, you're overreacting, the trigger deepens. Her brain interprets that response as confirmation that her fears were right all along. So she retreats further into anxiety, or she shuts down completely. Both are survival responses to the same wound. Her mind doesn't go crazy because she wants attention. It goes crazy because attachment is wired into her biology. Humans are relational beings. Connection is as vital as oxygen. When that connection feels threatened, the body reacts as if life itself is at risk. Her racing thoughts, her restlessness, her sudden mood swings, those are her nervous system's attempts to reestablish balance. She's not choosing them. They're happening to her. Sometimes her attachment trigger shows up as neediness. She texts more, asks questions, seeks reassurance. Other times it shows up as withdrawal. She distances herself to avoid feeling rejected. Both behaviors come from the same place, a deep fear of losing emotional safety. To outsiders, it looks contradictory. She pulls closer, then pushes away. But inside her, it makes perfect sense. When closeness feels unsafe, she distances. When distance feels unbearable, she clings. It's the push-pull cycle of an overloaded attachment system. Every relationship she's ever had has reinforced or softened these patterns. If she's been with people who dismissed her emotions, her trigger became stronger. If she's experienced love that was unpredictable, she learned to expect instability. So even when she meets someone genuine, her mind struggles to trust it. Stability feels foreign, like silence after years of noise. Her mind searches for the familiar, even if the familiar hurts. That's how trauma works. It confuses chaos with comfort.